Hello everyone, welcome back to Saving Andy's Save. This episode is going to be quite simple actually. We're just going to learn how to build a SPOM. You don't have to build these self-contained SPOMs, but as long as you have a good way of making oxygen, which is usually with water because you get water from a lot of things. Yeah, as long as it's you have a good way of getting oxygen sustainably, then it's all fine. It doesn't need to be exactly the same or whatever, but this is just kind of the standardized design over the years that is just proven and simple. Now, I've not put it in any particular place, just pretty much found a nice place to put it. One of the things that is good is you should probably read the wiki. The wiki is very useful for these kinds of things. Even though you might think that a SPOM is quite simple, which it is, there's still some, I would say, quirks. Just want to get this going. There's still some quirks, and you can also join, if you're struggling with early game stuff, you can also join the Oxygen Not Included Discord, made by the same people who maintain the wiki, and they're literally the goats, you know, as far as I'm concerned. They probably know the answer to whatever you need to ask, and I'm also in there. I also started off with the Oxygen Not Included Discord. There will be actually in the Discord, there are blueprints, and one of them, of course, is for a set of SPOMs. Now, I prefer personally to use 4 electrolyser design, so you can't place all of them in yet, but we put 4 in these positions. And also I make everything out of gold amalgam because I don't cool my SPOMs. I don't see a reason to. Okay, it's better to cool output than the input for SPOMs. I'll put the link to the wiki in the description, and I'll probably put a passage of the wiki on screen. But yeah, if you don't want to, you're not too mathy and you don't want to read into it, that's fine. That's just kind of a fact that is good to know. Now, in the Discord, the blueprint is a little bit different to how I build it in the Discord. So I prefer to split the SPOM left and right down the middle. It's personal preference. Okay, I do want to use copper, so that means I'll have to make some copper, annoyingly. Now, should I use the rock crusher? Probably not. I can't be bothered to set up a metal refinery though. And also, yeah, early game is completely fine to use a rock crusher. So we're going to refine some copper. Not entirely sure how many I need, and yeah, I'm not bothered to calculate it, so we'll just do, I think 25. We can always make more if we need it, and we'll put this on a decently high priority. Also, we are running out of hydrogen here at the top. So if we look at the pipe, there's a bit of stuff going in it. It's fine, we don't repair the generator. We'll just let it break, and then we'll deconstruct and replace it if we do need it. Alright, so while we build our SPOM, let's talk about the basic facts about a SPOM, or electrolysers. So, when you use a SPOM, it creates more hydrogen than it uses, which you can use to generate extra power, ranch Drecos, or other uses. So it's power positive, and that means it'll basically run forever. It doesn't require much material or research, so you can build a SPOM pretty early in the game. Of course, this is a late game save for me, so I didn't need to do the research. It requires a stable water source, and that's pretty much the only requirement that you need that is constant. And each electrolyzer uses 1 kilo per second of water if you run it constantly. No dupe labor is required for a SPOM. So unlike your algae terrariums, which are terrible, or if you use oxygen diffuser, you don't need a dupe running around getting stuff for it. It's all pumped and piped and ready to go. A constantly running electrolyzer can supply 8.88 jupes worth of oxygen. Really, that's 8 jupes worth plus a little bit left over of oxygen. But if you have it enclosed, 2 pumps can only feed 10 jupes worth of oxygen. So you need to make sure, you need to check how many jupes you can support and what is the bottleneck. So you should go with the smaller number to be safe. For instance, if you have 3 sets of 2 pumps, that can only supply 30 jupes, even if you had 4 electrolyzers running, which would be able to support somewhere around 35 jupes. Some more advanced tips. So you can see me using electrolyzers in the late game because, well, nothing, again, you set them up at the start and you can keep running them pretty much forever. But in a late game base, you might want to optimize it a bit. So if you feed hot water, so feeding water greater than 20 degrees Celsius generates cooling because the specific heat capacity of water compared to oxygen and hydrogen is lower. The fancy math can be found on the wiki, so I'll put it probably on screen. If you use really hot water, it can actually generate quite a significant amount of cooling due to this. So it is a good way to get rid of hot water. And here you can see me use water that is on average above like 80 degrees Celsius. You should build a SPOM using gold amalgam so it doesn't overheat, because if you feed 99 degrees Celsius water into it, it will never go above 125 degrees Celsius, pretty much. And gold amalgam has a high enough overheat temperature that it won't break, unlike if you use copper. If you do this, you can only cool the O2 output, and even the O2 going into atmosuits does not need to be cooled. You don't even need to cool the hydrogen because the heat in the hydrogen gets deleted when it gets used up by hydrogen generators. And a quick aside, there's a build called a Hydra, and it basically builds in infinite storage, and it constantly runs as long as it has water. There's no overpressure for the electrolysers. I don't use or recommend hydras because, one, it can feel a little bit cheaty with the submerged electrolysers and infinite storage, and two, which is actually, I think, the more important point, it can be unclear what consumption and production rates look like. You might run out of water by accident because you haven't noticed that you're just using up your water and it's piling up in the hydra in terms of oxygen and hydrogen, and you're not using it, and it's kind of a waste. So yeah, you need to pay really close attention to hydras, and it's probably better for more experienced players anyway. Okay, so we're clearing out the debris a bit, and we're going to put in some automation, and we'll use copper. I like to keep things consistent in any build, so this is just my preferred way. You don't have to use the same metal. Like, I could use iron or gold, but I just choose not to. Choose to use copper. And yeah, we'll hook it up. I split it down the middle. Okay, so we're going to set up a bit of automation. This goes above 500. There's actually, hello, okay, above 500. There's like a range of values that you can use for these. There's nothing really set in stone. There's just some numbers that you might like to use or you might not. We're going to set this also to 400 above. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in this battery temporarily so we can vacuum out this. And I'm using a canister filler because it's just easy. And also this Atmos sensor is just going to be above 0 so that they're just always pumping. And hopefully that should help. Okay, now that we've closed this up as well, I'm going to dig out all of this. Okay, so everything should be built, and I'm just gonna hook up. That's why. Okay, I'm just gonna hook this up so that once the water is flowing, so once the water is flowing, we'll get some oxygen made, and probably more importantly, we'll get hydrogen made. Okay, so we have water. And we have oxygen. Although, yeah, it's a bit chaotic. It needs a bit more power. Yeah, I need someone else to come run this. Just keep pumping until we get a good layer at the top. And I do see the issue. How do we do that? So these will get a bit, we'll disable auto repair. These will get a little bit of damage, but that should be fine. Yep, wrong element. Wrong element. After that, all should be good. Let's check the materials. Okay, so that's our SPOM started up. Connect that up, disconnect that. And that seems good enough. This can be low at 30. High at 80, why not? We'll just do that. Put them together. In fact, we'll actually make a little bit of an improvement. Since we want to power the SPOM first, you should... This might be a bit confusing. But essentially, it'll go in the first bridge, and it will go and fill this all up. And in fact, because I'm doing this, I'm just going to disconnect this. It'll try to fill these 4 hydrogen generators up, and if the whole line is full, it will pass this bridge and go to the second bridge, and it will get sent downwards.